Hi, Tracy Hugelmeyer here from VintagepreneurUniversity.com, where I help vintage sellers start, grow, and scale their business on Etsy. I also own my own vintage business, Rustic Eye, that I've had since 2013. And I'm super excited to bring you a brand new episode of Friday Feedback, where I give a review for an Etsy vintage seller. If you would like to find out how to get your own review, whether you're brand new or you've been around for a while, like our feature today, you can do that either by becoming an Etsy Junkie, which is our free private Facebook group, or signing up for any of my free trainings, and I'll link both of those options for you below in the notes, so check that out. And without further ado, I bring you Bianca with BS Cozy Cottage Crafts and her cute store that she's had since 2015. So let's go ahead and take a look. Okay, so here we are in Bianca's Etsy shop, and she, as you'll probably notice, sells more than just vintage. She sells some handcrafted and upcycled items, but she also sells vintage items like her vintage ceramic mugs. And I thought it was a great example of how to blend those two seamlessly. She does such a great job of that. And she does so many wonderful, great things in her shop that, we'll be learning from her probably more than I'll be giving her feedback. But I might find one or two things that might help her out too. So hopefully it's a win-win for everybody here. But all right. So I love how she, like I said, how she blends everything together. When it comes to Etsy, or any business really, it's all about your target market and your target customer. So she sells, as you can see right here in her shop title, home decor, garden decor, and all things crochet. So you might ask, well, that's a big kind of variation of things. And if you look at what she sells, she has a large variation. But the point here, an important thing to note, is the target customer that her shop would attract is going to look at all these different things and think that these are for them. And that's kind of your goal when you have an Etsy shop, is to stock your shop with things that are going to attract your target customer, and then also make them want to stick around and see what else you have, and then even come back later to get more. And I definitely get that vibe in her shop. I feel like these items go together, and she's going to be appealing to a particular shopper, and they're going to be coming back for more because her shop speaks to them. Okay, so what I wanted to do, I'm going to go ahead and go through some of the basics, but she is completely on point here on so many things, so it's hard to give actual feedback. I really like your banner and how you kind of showcase the different things available in your shop, your products available. I can see her using Etsy Plus here. That gives you some extra flexibility in that regard. And I also really like how you group your colored items together. Like your white items here, kind of your pink, same type of items here, but then like your purplish, pinkish items here. And it all kind of blends together with your brand, your cute little logo here. So that's all really awesome. I also notice, I'm going to jump down, that you, in your about section, you really showcase the same type of vibe, your garden type of vibe, and your she shed. Oh my gosh, how adorable is that? And it's perfect for your branding. It's really awesome. I would even maybe think about bringing some of that she shed into more of your photos, your item photos. I think that would be really cute too, even with your vintage items, because these vintage items, even though they're vintage and they're different than your handmade stuff, they still have the same, what I'm going to call, for lack of a better term, garden vibe. So I think that would be really cool to bring some of that into your photos as well, your she shed specifically. It's really cool. And then I also love this little welcome in all the different languages. That's super clever and cute. The only recommendation I have for your about section is you can try to use some of your keywords, like your home decor, garden decor, and crochet items, which are I'm seeing as your primary keywords for your shop. You can try and incorporate those into your about section, and that will just help with your outside SEO to help reinforce to the outside search engines like Google what it is that's available in your shop. And I pulled those primary keywords from your shop title. So it's always a good idea to kind of define what those primary keywords are for your shop and then to put them in the various places throughout your shop to, like I said, help reinforce what's available in your shop to those outside search engines. As far as we know, Etsy doesn't look at those places, but you never know, they could in the future, but we do know that outside search engines look at all areas of our shop. They can see everything, and they can and do look at everything. So whenever you can sprinkle those in a natural way, that's always a positive thing. The one place you can't really be natural is your shop title because you don't have a lot of space. But when I say natural, I mean written for humans. So make it part of like a conversation in your other areas. I'm also totally digging how you are using your featured items and really maximizing that for the season. I think that's super smart and looks really good. It also makes it look really fresh, her shop look really fresh, which helps build trust with your customers because, if they can feel that this is something your shop is paid attention to and worked on, then they're going to feel more comfortable buying from you. Hopefully that makes sense. And everything about her shop is very warm and friendly. Welcome. There's all kinds of welcoming all over the place. People like to feel welcomed. So the more positive you can be and welcoming your shop seems, the more people are going to want to stick around and buy from you. Her reviews speak for themselves. She's got all kinds of amazing customer service props and reviews here. So clearly she's, already doing a really awesome job on Etsy. I think everything in your policies looks really good. And the only kind of recommendation that I have here at the bottom on your frequently asked question, just kind of like something to think about. And this is obviously completely up to you and what works best for you. But I think you can even consider taking this out as far as custom orders require a deposit up front. I think that it's completely okay to expect the full amount up front, because what would you do if you were halfway through a project and somebody backed out? I mean, yes, it's helpful that you have a deposit, but you've probably already invested way more of your time and resources than that deposit is worth. So I think it's perfectly acceptable to expect and request the entire amount up front. So don't be afraid to do that or consider that if you haven't thought about that in the past. But again, you've been doing this for a long time, so you know what works best for you, but that's just kind of a tip or something to think about for somebody else who might be watching this too. And if I didn't mention it already, Bianca has been on Etsy since 2015 and she has 572 sales. So she is well established on Etsy. If you're new, don't compare yourself to a shop that's been around since 2015, or even a couple years, because it's going to take you a while to get to this place. The point of these reviews is not to make you feel bad with where you're at, but to give you some inspiration and some tips on what you can work towards. Never feel bad about where you are because everybody starts at the beginning, right? Okay, so I want to make sure when I review an item that I review a vintage item, because that's what we're all about here. But really quick before I do that, because I almost forgot, I wanted to comment on how cool it is that I mentioned the grouping of colors in your banner, but also you group colors and like items together in I've noticed across all your items. And I just think that's a really cool strategy. It doesn't work, or it's not going to work for everybody, but I think it works perfectly in your shop. It's just really, really cool. And then I noticed too, like on the last couple of pages, you've grouped all your holiday items together. So if somebody's browsing your shop, they're going to, see that if they're browsing through your items, and it's going to keep them looking. So that's really cool too. I like how you've done that. You can see right here that even though this is your vintage dining set or dining ware, even though you've got, handcrafted stuff surrounding it, and here you have another vintage item, they just all go so well together because of the holiday theme. So again, love that. Super, super smart. And it could give others, I think, a way to think about how to group items in their own shop. Okay, so I think that I'm going to go ahead and review this item here. This photo really jumped out at me because of the way that the photo is composed, the composition of the photo. When you are taking photos for your items, I think some people get caught up on making sure that the item is in the center, but that sometimes works. A lot of times it works, but really it's more about the composition of your photo, and the composition of her photo works really, really well because you can still see the, the detail of the plates, and you can see that there's more than one just by looking at it. And it kind of is a little bit different. So it stands out and jumps out at you. Like if somebody was searching for, Christmas ceramic dining ware, let's just say, and this one popped up, it's going to look different than probably a lot of the other vintage Christmas ceramic dining ware. And I'm going to test that too, so we can see what it looks like in a search. But that's a really smart way to display plates. I really like that idea. So just kind of throwing that out there. Okay, so here's my test. I typed in Christmas ceramic dining ware, which was right from, I actually copy and pasted it from her title so that we can look and see what pulls up here. And as we start to scroll down, there are definitely, your typical photos. And there are some that are grouped together, which are really cool, and they showcase, what's available. I really like, a lot of these photos are done really well. I found her item. Here's another one that's kind of the same, kind of how she did hers, where there's a lot of different mugs and it shows the different angles and different sayings. That's really cute. So I did find her item on page 2. So there it is right at the top of page 2. And do you see how it looks just a little bit different? Almost enough to catch your eye, which is what you're going after. The only thing that I would suggest on that picture is to maybe brighten it up just a little bit. And in my last review, I showed how you can easily do that on Canva. I'm sorry, not Canva. Using a free app called A Color Story. So I will link to my last review so you can see how you could easily brighten up this photo with that free app. It's perfect for white backgrounds. So I think it would be a really worthwhile thing for you to take a look at for a lot of your vintage items, since they seem to all be on this white type of background. But brightening up with that app will just help you pop a little bit more in search. You're already you're already well on your way of doing that. And I think already doing that by having this cool, unique composition. But you can do that even further by using that app. So check that out. All right, then back in our listing, here's where I copied from the title. If you look at all the different photos, you can I think you do a really great job of showcasing the item and, what it looks like close up and the backs of them. And then I see that you show each one here in all the different photos. So great use of your photo space there. And then how cool is this? Her last photo loops her brand back in and all the ways to contact her, which is really, really cool too. Okay, I think your title is right on cue with what Etsy recommends. You use 3 long tail keyword phrases here. So I think that that's perfect. Um, you don't need to repeat vintage, but it doesn't hurt you. So if you had something else to put there instead of vintage, that would be okay. Maybe like entertaining china serving plates. So you are adding entertaining as a keyword and making a little bit better usage of that space. But otherwise, this looks great. And then let's take a look at your item description. How cute is this little note, this little pin here? I love that. These little pictures, when you add them in, I'm blanking on what we actually call them, the actual terminology for them, but they're kind of used like bullet points to help, make it easier for somebody to get through your description and find what they're looking for. So you use bullet points here too, which is really, really good. You want, when you're writing out your listing description, you want to make sure that, like I said, it's easy to get through, easy to digest, and has all the information that your customers will be looking for, and then helps to sell your items. And Bianca touches on all those points like perfectly with the bullet points. She includes, the information that customers are going to be looking for, like the plate size, when they were made, who they were made by, and what condition they're in. Are there any chips or cracks? She covers all of those things. I noticed that she uses the keywords here: poinsettias, leaves, red ribbons, and gold rim. I think those would also be good keywords to use in your title and tags. Let's see what we got going on for tags down here. Yeah, I would recommend putting those keywords in your titles and tags, titles and or tags. It doesn't have to be in both places, wherever you have room for them. But if someone's searching on Etsy for poinsettia plates, vintage plates, or gold rim vintage plates, something like that, then it will be helpful to have those keywords so that they can find them. So that's one tip that you could do. And I did notice that, Bianca, I looked at some of your other listings, and you're really, really good about including, kind of a recommendation for helping how your customers see how they can use the item in their life. So I know you're really good about doing that, but I don't see it here. You might have just overlooked it or didn't get to it or whatever on this item. So just for everybody else's benefit, it would be a good idea to include in your listing description, for example, in this case, that this would be great for entertaining on Christmas Eve or something like that. Something to, suggest a usage for your item is always a smart thing to do too. And I also really like the positive way that Bianca points out that her items are pre-owned, they're not new, they're vintage. That's always something as a vintage seller that we want to make sure our customers understand. It's probably even more important in her shop because she's not all vintage. So somebody might be browsing around and, seeing a handcrafted thing, and then they click on this item or one of her vintage items, and they're not immediately clear that it's a vintage item. So I think it's especially important for her to do it. It's not something that's absolutely necessary to do, but if you do it, then do it in a positive way. And she does that. She says, please don't hesitate to contact me in case you have questions or concerns. So there's nothing negative in that statement, which is great. And then she also includes a link to check out the other things that she has to offer. I would even recommend in this case, since, you link to your other vintage ceramic stuff, or if it's around Christmas time, link to your other Christmas items if you have a section for Christmas. So you can do that as well. Including those internal links will help keep people in your shop, and it will also lower your bounce rate, which helps with your outside SEO. We do not know if it helps with our Etsy SEO. They have not told us one way or the other, but it definitely helps with your outside SEO. Okay, and the last thing I'm going to say to your super cool, amazing shop that I can tell you've put so much hard work into and you've done a great job. Like I said, I don't have a lot of feedback for you because you're already killing it. But one question for you, Bianca. Do you always ship in one day, or does it take you sometimes up to 3 days to ship? If it sometimes takes you up to 3 days to ship, that's fine. Leave it as 1 to 3 business days. But if you're usually shipping in 1 business day, then consider changing that to 1 business day. And then if you have a one-off where you can't get to it, I know a lot of times sellers want to leave themselves a little leeway, but or maybe they haven't looked at this in a long time, and so they're just kind of used to always using the 1 to 3 business days or even longer. But that's just something too that I like to point out to revisit, because if you are almost always shipping in 1 business day, then it can help you in search, or for people who are looking for that super quick turnaround, and especially around the holiday time, to set that at 1 business day. And then if, like I said, if you have a one-off, you just need that you can't get out in that 1 business day's time, then reach out to your customer and make sure you communicate that to them, but handle it that way with communication. And that opens up, just a few more possibilities for you for sales. Okay, so thank you, Bianca, for volunteering your lovely shop. You are doing an amazing job. I know we always want to get feedback, even no matter how long we've been doing this. We're always working on improving our shops, myself included. It's a constant learning journey, and there's always something to learn. So hopefully that everybody who's watching this video was able to pick up a tip or a trick or something that they can work on in their own shop. And again, if you are interested in getting a free review for your own shop, you can check out how to do that in the notes below. If you like this video, make sure to give it a like and subscribe to my channel and click the little bell as well so you get notified whenever a new video comes out. Thank you so much for joining us today, and have a great rest of your day. Bye!